Jacob went on his way, and the angels of God met him. When Jacob saw them, he said, "This is God's camp." And he called the name of that place Mahanaim. Then Jacob sent messengers before him to Esau his brother in the land of Seir, the country of Edom. And he commanded them, saying, "Speak thus to my lord Esau. Thus your servant Jacob says, I have dwelt with Laban, and stayed there until now. I have oxen, donkeys, flocks, and male and female servants. And I have sent to tell my lord, that I may find favour in your sight." My name's Arthur. Thank you for joining me as we read in Genesis chapter 32, Jacob's preparation for reconciliation with his brother. The last time Jacob had communicated with his brother was breathing threats of vengeance. "When Dad dies, I will kill him." And so Jacob's father, Isaac, had sent Jacob away, and Jacob had obeyed his father's instructions and gone to live with his uncle Laban, that he might take a wife there. En route at Bethel, he had dreamed of the ladder, with angels ascending and descending, and the Lord promising him that he would watch over him, that he would bring him back to the land, that he would give his descendants the land, that he would make his descendants as the dust of the earth, and that all the nations of the earth would be blessed through his seed. And so he had worked 20 years very diligently for his uncle Laban, and gained 2 wives, 2 concubines, 12 children, and large flocks and herds. But then his favour with his uncle had worn off. His uncle's brothers were jealous that the Lord had blessed Jacob at their expense, largely because of the duplicity of Laban. And so Jacob had left with his family. Laban had pursued him to recover, but the Lord had intervened and told Laban, "Just be quiet, don't say anything good or bad to Jacob." And so Laban had just protested that Jacob had stolen his household gods, idols. Jacob hadn't done that, but Rachel had, but she managed to conceal that from her father. And so they had made a covenant between them that neither would return to the other with intent of harm. So there was no turning back now for Jacob. He must go forward, and forward, travelling south, meant being reconciled with his brother Esau. What was his brother Esau thinking? After 20 years, had he calmed down, or had his hatred intensified? As he progresses south, we're told first that the angels of God met him, and so he is encouraged. The Lord has told him to return, the Lord has promised that he will be with him, and now the Lord has sent some angels to help him, because this is a frightening and challenging exercise that he's engaged in. So he calls the place Mahanaim, and he sends messengers to Esau, advising him of what has happened, and that he is returning, and that he wants to renew fellowship with him, that I might find favour in his sight. We continue reading in verse 6 of Genesis 32. The messengers returned to Jacob, saying, "We came to your brother Esau, and he also is coming to meet you, and 400 men are with him." So Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed, and he divided the people that were with him, and the flocks and the herds and the camels, into 2 companies. And he said, "If Esau comes to the one company and attacks it, then the other company which is left will escape." Then Jacob said, "O God of my father Abraham, and God of my father Isaac, the Lord who said to me, 'Return to your country and to your family, and I will deal well with you,' I am not worthy of the least of all the mercies and of all the truth which you have shown your servant. For I crossed over this Jordan with my staff, and now I have become 2 companies. Deliver me, I pray, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him, lest he come and attack me, and the mother with the children. For you said, I will surely treat you well, and make your descendants as the sand of the sea, which cannot be numbered for multitude." And so he lodged there that same night. And may the Lord bless these words to us. The story of Jacob is fascinating. We have the expression in some places, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. And it's quite easy to look at the life of Abraham and see a man who is growing in faith and obedience, a real man of God. And we understand that Isaac grew up with the fear of the Lord, Abraham teaching him how he should live, and that the pagan ways of the Canaanites were a real frustration to him. Nevertheless, he was not perfect either, for we see that he showed favouritism to his older son, and neglected Jacob for so long. In the end, he realised that God's blessing was on Jacob, and he did pray for Jacob, and sent him away that he might provide a wife for himself from Rebekah's family. But when we come to Jacob, we find a man who seems to have little to commend him. He deceives his brother, and yet seems to be rewarded for it. He obeys his father when his father sends him to Laban, but when he gets there, he is cheated, although the cheating results in him having a large family. He works very hard, and the Lord blesses him. He has met the Lord, and the Lord has unilaterally made promises to him that he would bring him back to the land. But Jacob doesn't seem to have much confidence that God can do this, and so he has returned to his own land. But he fears, as he confesses in his prayer to God, he fears his brother. He's saying, Lord, you've put me in this predicament. You told me to come back. You said you'd deal well with me. And now, here I am going to meet my brother, and he's coming to meet me with 400 men. It sounds like an army coming to attack him. It sounds like Esau is about to take vengeance. This is Jacob's great fear. And we'll see as the story continues that Jacob's life continues to be one of stress and fear. He has great responsibility and great blessing from God, and yet he is so often greatly afraid. Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed. So what actions does he take in his distress? He divides everything, the people that were with him, and the flocks and the herds, into two companies, thinking that if Esau attacks one company, then the other can escape. But he can't really divide his own family, and he must face Esau himself. So dividing his possessions into two groups might save some of them, but it doesn't really help the situation. So what can Jacob do? The only thing he can do is what God's people must always do: strengthen themselves in the Lord. He prays, O God of my father Abraham, and God of my father Isaac, the Lord who said to me, return to your country and to your family, and I will deal well with you. He is obeying God, but he is fearful, and so he raises the matter with the Lord and says, you've promised, Lord, to be with me and bless me, but here it seems everything is turning pear-shaped. And he confesses his unworthiness. It's not because of our good works or our status as Christians that we can expect to receive anything from the Lord. Our prayer must always be with that same attitude. I'm not worthy of the least of all the mercies and of all the truth which you have shown your servant. For I crossed over this Jordan with my staff, and now I have become two companies. He recalls the fact that, yes, 20 years ago he was just a single solitary person. Now he is two companies. He doesn't deserve this. And we say, no, we can't see anything that shows that Jacob deserves it. But God has kept his word, and God has been merciful. He prays, deliver me from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him, lest he come and attack me and the mother with the children. He has no confidence in Esau receiving him. He knows the strength of Esau. He knows Esau has always dominated over him. He knows Esau has threatened him, and he is not prepared to fight his brother Esau. And so he reminds the Lord of his promises. The Lord had said, I will surely treat you well, and make your descendants as the sand of the sea, which cannot be numbered for multitude. When we face dark days, when we are greatly afraid of what lies ahead of us, and yet we are doing what we believe God wants us to do, we should encourage ourselves in the Lord, recalling his great and precious promises.